Chapter 3. Love Others. In 1 Thessalonians 3:12 through 13, we see that our love should both increase and abound. And may the Lord make you increase and abound in love to one another and to all, just as we do to you, so that he may establish your hearts blameless in holiness before our God and Father at the coming of our Lord Jesus Christ with all his saints. 1 Thessalonians 3:12 and 13. I find it interesting that both increase and abound are mentioned. That is a double blessing. Don't just increase, but increase and abound in love to one another and to all. Consider this word all. Who can I leave out? Is there anyone unlovable? No, not biblically. We are to love even those who seem unlovable, just as God does. How are we supposed to love them? Jesus says, "A new commandment I give to you, that you love one another as I have loved you, that you also love one another." John 13:34. So now we know how to love one another. It is to be the same way Jesus loved his disciples. Did it mean that Jesus was always sweet like honey with them? No, that's not love. In fact, once he said to a disciple, "Get behind me, Satan." This was a pretty harsh way to say, "You're out of line," but it was said out of love. Jesus expressed love in many ways, through correction as well as intimacy. Love doesn't always mean we just repeat, "Oh, I love you, I love you." Sometimes it means we confront sin until it's corrected. We have coined a phrase, tough love. It means doing what is right even though you know it is going to physically or emotionally hurt the person you love. It is the type of love that causes you to spank your child when he does what is wrong, knowing that in 10 years his heart will have been trained to do what is right. A love that is tough looks past feelings to truth. Tough love is what Jesus had when he looked at the scribes and Pharisees. In essence, he said, "Woe to you, you're going to hell." Read Luke chapter 11 for more. Yet Jesus looked upon those who were killing him, including those same scribes and Pharisees, and said, "Father, forgive them. They know not what they do." Luke 23:34. He had love for them, yet he had still spoken the truth. The bitter agony in Psalm 41:9 is terrible. "Even my own familiar friend in whom I trusted, who ate my bread, has lifted up his heel against me." This is a prophecy of David concerning Jesus' betrayal by someone he loved. The betrayal increases when Judas comes to Jesus and kisses him. He said, "Judas, are you betraying the Son of Man with a kiss?" Luke 22:48. That must have hurt more than we know, and is why I believe Judas killed himself. Judas knew that not only did he kill an innocent man, but he betrayed the one who loved him so dearly. That was by far the hardest thing to bear, and it led him to suicide. The Scriptures tell us that it is God who teaches us to truly love. But concerning brotherly love, you have no need that I should write to you, for you yourselves are taught by God to love one another. 1 Thessalonians 4:9. Paul says, "I don't need to teach you, for you yourselves are taught by God to love one another." If you are a disciple, you will have love for one another because it is his commandment. Love one another, John 13:34. All commands imply choice. I can choose to love or I can choose not to love. You have heard that it was said, "You shall love your neighbor and hate your enemy." But I say to you, love your enemies. Bless those who curse you. Do good to those who hate you, and pray for those who spitefully use you and persecute you, that you may be sons of your Father in heaven. For he makes his sun rise on the evil and on the good, and sends rain on the just and on the unjust. For if you love those who love you, what reward have you? Do not even the tax collectors do the same? And if you greet your brethren only, what do you do more than others? Do not even the tax collectors do so? Therefore you shall be perfect, just as your Father in heaven is perfect. Matthew 5:43 through 48. But love your enemies. Do good and lend, hoping for nothing in return, and your reward will be great, and you will be sons of the Most High. For he is kind to the unthankful and evil. Therefore be merciful, just as your Father also is merciful. Luke 6:35 through 36. Here we see that Jesus gives a reward for loving those formerly considered unlovable. Great will be your reward in heaven, but it's still a choice, isn't it? You can't say, God, I'll love him as soon as you give me love for him. First, you start loving him, and then you will be given love for him. Sometimes the action precedes the emotion. We are given some examples of how to love in Ephesians. And walk in love as Christ also has loved us and given himself for us. Ephesians 5:2. This is how we are to love each other, as Christ loved.
Thank you for listening to the audio version of His Final Words, a discipleship manual by Travis Hunt. This audiobook will continue in the following videos.